What's in the case?
Vincent! We happy? Yeah, we happy.
4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome back to the What's in the Briefcase podcast. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Jacob. I'm Kevin.
And yeah, okay.
Why did you do that, Kevin? And you are?
And I'm Joseph.
Yes, and he's Joseph. And that's all their people that are here. He's Jacob and Joseph, and I'm Jacob and Kevin and Joseph. And who's the third person?
God.
He's God.
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
You're
Yes.
God. Yeah. Okay, let's start. Come on.
Yes. So God works very well with the topic we're talking about today, which is predestination versus free will. And to start off, I just wanted to mention there's a video that I told everyone to see for this podcast.
God, did you watch the video this time? Good.
Why did you give me this title?
So the video I told everyone to watch was by Cross Examine, the YouTube channel, just for credit. And basically this, I think it was a pastor or something, or a writer, but he was saying how, to reference predestination, he had an example of like watching a football game. If you have the football games on your TV, if you have access to that, but you go away for the day and you don't get to watch the game, and then a friend of yours texts you the scores. You say, why would I want that? I was going to watch the game. But you go home and you watch the game anyway. But you know the scores. But the players still have free will to do what they did on the field. So that's the analogy that I gave in the video. And I think that's really interesting because he also mentioned that God is sort of outside of time. Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think about?
Are we talking about this? If we're talking about it within the religious context.
Well, in a secular way, it's called hard determinism.
No, yeah, I get it. But in this analogy, he's talking about the person of God, the omnipotent figure. And I find that actually, that's something I've talked about with other people before. The idea of it depends on whether how omnipotent you think God is, right? Because if God's truly, and it's okay if I go into this, I just feel like it's worth mentioning because that was the subject of the video. If God's truly completely omnipotent, I feel like it's not correct to say God's experience would be like already knowing the points, but not knowing the actual game itself. I think God already saw the game as it aired live, and now he's just watching it on rerun. That's how I always thought it would have been.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. No one knows exactly how it works, but I think that Joseph, what do you think?
I was just gonna add on to what Kevin said. I think I kind of think it's kind of like that, but like a little bit more detailed, more like he knows the end game, but in like more like you can see he sees different variations of the game. Cause yes, there is one. So say like two teams are playing, like New York Giants and New England Patriots. So say he can see one timeline where the New York Giants win by a certain circumstances. If the Giants play some way, but he can also see if they lose, and there's different ways they lose in different scores. But whatever comes out it happens.
So that's how he maintains free will, but still makes people obey him.
Right, and this view is called soft determinism because it's not hard determinism; it's the opposite of that. It's soft determinism. So
if we're going into, at this point, we're kind of going more into like the crash course videos, right?
Well, yeah, I'm just mentioning the definitions they gave just for reference.
Right. Sorry. My personal preference out of all those was the one he mentions was it the third video or I'm sorry, the compatibilism it was called, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that one's like determinism, except it allows for a sense of holding people responsible for their actions, because even if it's predetermined, it doesn't mean you didn't come to the decision to make that action on your own.
Exactly.
Right. Well, soft determinism is part of compatibilism. So I think also what me and Joseph were talking before the episode started recording, but Joseph, you were mentioning create your own adventure games, right?
Yeah. Like for example, I think the most popular that most people would know, if they do know, is the Telltale Walking Dead video games.
Maybe explain what a create your own adventure game is.
So
You mean choose your own adventure?
Yeah, choose your own.
Yeah. So like you're given a character to control, and you're given a plot which the character is in, but you get to choose certain things that they say and certain things that they do. Not you don't have complete 100% control of what they do or say, but certain moments within the game, you can choose what to say and how to react to it.
Like in this podcast we're doing right now, if we were characters in this game, right now, if Joseph was the main character, there would be 4 options in front of him, right? In front of his character. And one would be like, I agree. Another one would be like, that's stupid. The other one's like, Kevin, did you just cut me off? How dare you? And then the other one is just be silent. And
can I add on, Kevin?
Of course.
But then also there are times where there's a decision that will change. Like the small decisions when you're having a conversation in the game are very small. They don't really mean anything. They don't matter as much, but they do have some effect. But then at one point of the game where you have an unlimited amount of time to choose between 2 or 3 things, these things will drastically change how your adventure continues further down the line.
And I think it can tie into the sports analogy with God, in the sense that some of the decisions in the game they don't affect the end outcome, the ultimate end outcome. They might affect how much somebody likes you or dislikes you, but they don't completely change the end outcome, like in the sports game. But then some decisions do. So
So and then sometimes some of your decisions add up each time, because most of these games are episodic, where they have an episode. So decisions sometimes they all like gather up, and then like what happens at the very end determines by what you did previous. So like in this recent game I played, Life is Strange 2. So if you're a complete villain throughout the entire thing, you can, say if you try to do the right thing at the very end, your other character will do the wrong thing, will do the opposite of what you do, because that's what they did previously. So they just go ahead and do it, and it has major ramifications for how this works.
How do we tie this back to free will?
Well, basically in the Crash Course video that we all watched, I'm talking about the principle of alternate possibilities, which states that an action is free only if the agent, that is the person doing the thing, could have done otherwise. So basically you have free will. Like this also goes back to the sports analogy, because the players had free will. They had options to do other things in the game. But right. in the end, the outcome may have been different, but they had options nonetheless.
So is what determines it the perception that you have the option to do otherwise?
Well, I think it's perspective. Because in God's perspective, he knows everything. Mm-hmm. But in our perspective, we're just living through our lives.
Well, what I mean is, in the video, they give an example of somebody kidnaps people and puts a chip in their brain to force them to vote for the party of the mad scientist choosing. But then they say, but what if somebody was already going to vote for that party, and they didn't even need the chip in the brain to do it?
That definitely creates complications.
But what I find interesting about that is, if you go on a hard determinist viewpoint, you could argue that the chip in the brain didn't even strip them of any free will. it was because they already didn't have that free will to begin with. And I think the only difference is your ability to kind of perceive free will,
Right.
you know, because beforehand, somebody could look at that situation and say, oh, they could choose both options, even if the option they chose is ultimately predetermined. But after the chip is in their brain, we can accurately predict 100% of the time they're only going to choose one option.
Okay.
Right.
So since we're like, so what do we guys think about Oedipus then? Because the story of Oedipus is that
Pretty hot.
is about like when he was born, Oedipus is like there's a prophecy saying that he will kill his father and marry his mother. So to stop that from happening, his father puts him out in the middle of the woods, and then he's adopted by another couple, finds out about the prophecy, and runs away from his home, not knowing he's adopted. But then randomly, while he's walking, in a fury of rage, he kills a man, which is his father,
Happens
and
to be
then
his father.
marries the dead man's widow. So, well, how does that have to do with free will?
I have very strong opinions about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
In high school, we actually held a trial for Oedipus.
Really?
After we read the story, yeah, whether or not he should be guilty. And I was on the prosecution, and I still remain adamant that Oedipus is absolutely responsible for the action of at least killing his father.
Yeah.
Because even though it was all predetermined and it was all said by an oracle, I think everything's already predetermined anyways, right? I think that this conversation we're having was already predetermined by previous factors relating to our biology, which is related to physics, which would probably be traced back to the Big Bang or the Big Sneeze or wherever the hell started everything. So I think that Oedipus, the only thing that matters is that we can see that Oedipus made the decision of his own volition. Nothing coerced him into doing it. In the story, it's because the carriage runs over his foot, right? That's like, do you guys read the original story?
No.
Okay, well, in the original story, the reason he kills his dad, it's not just his dad, it's the entire party of people with his dad. He goes on a massacre, and it's because they run over his foot, and he gets pissed, and he kills all of them. And I'm like, okay, but that you can even just ignore the prophecy then, because what we have here is a psychopath who just wanted to kill people. It doesn't matter that it was predetermined, you know? And then the whole thing with the mom, that's not his fault because he didn't know it was his mom, and you know,
Yeah.
but in the case of that, like, dude, he just wanted to kill people. It had nothing to. No one made him do anything.
Well, okay, even though no one made him do it, but do you think that his father's decision to abandon him actually pushed him to do it anyway? Because like, just imagine, what if he didn't leave him out in the middle of the woods?
You know, that's interesting.
Would he have still killed those people and married his mom? Like,
and that I believe in the original story, or at least the version I read, they didn't only leave him out in the woods. They like put nails in his feet, right? And that's why it hurt so much when the carriage ran over his foot. And that's why he got so pissed off and killed everybody there. There's like 7 guys. He's just like going all, here's Johnny on him. So I guess you could argue, Joseph, that did cause that, but I don't know. I don't say somebody is like a veteran or like they have PTSD. I always say that wrong. Did I say that right?
Yeah, no, it's
PTSD. You're right.
Yeah, and it causes them to have, you know, well, actually, in the case of PTSD, it would be a mitigating factor, wouldn't it? If somebody had a reaction to seeing somebody, say, with like a BB gun, and they had like a war flashback, and then they killed a person, we do consider that a mitigating factor in a court of law, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
It would lessen the punishment.
I don't really know that much about law when it comes to that. Now I don't. But
yeah.
But also another thing I would say, because like I've seen like a lot of examples where like someone says this is going to happen, right? And then they try to avoid and every single, like, no matter how much they try to avoid that thing from happening, because they try to avoid it, it happens anyway.
Well, I think
like,
that. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No, because like I've seen it in not like I've seen multiple times throughout media, like where like there's like one season of The Flash where like they're trying to prevent this one thing from like, okay, how do we do this to prevent this from happening? And then like the whole season they prevent it, and then like it happens anyway. I'm like, so is it? I think the thing is, I think when it comes,
I feel like I'm sorry, I'm doing it again.
No, it's cool, but like I think the thing is like, I think like if someone is like if someone tells you that you're predetermined to do something, I don't think you should try to fight it. Like, for example, if Oedipus's father didn't try to fight against that it will happen, it probably wouldn't have happened. But the fact that he tried to avoid it at all costs, he set the thing in motion, leaving, like, free, even though Oedipus did have free will to kill those people or not. But
I think if we're going down this rabbit hole, I want to talk about time travel. Can I talk about time travel just for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that if time travel gets to work, okay, we're not going to have Back to the Future rules. We're not going to have Terminator rules because that doesn't make sense. Because if you can't change the past if you can time travel, right? That doesn't make sense. Because if you're from the future and you try to stop some terrible catastrophe, like you try to stop Pearl Harbor, and you stop Pearl Harbor, you'll never know about Pearl Harbor, so you won't be able to go back in time to stop it. Like, you're from the...
Technically, you're kind of... No, technically, there wouldn't be... Technically, you would be the only person who remembers Pearl Harbor because...
Why? You're from the future! The past affects you!
No, but you're from the future where Pearl Harbor happened. Right?
No, that means you're from an alternate timeline, which means nothing matters what you're doing here. There's no point of going back.
No, this is why I say if time travel existed, even though we're so off topic right now, this is why I say...
I'm sorry, Jacob. Jacob's dying here.
I would go to the future because in the past, you don't know if you can mess up anything because, like, you don't know...
No, you can't mess up anything. That's my point. Because
you don't know if you can or cannot.
If you're actually time traveling, and I'm not talking about going to another timeline, because that's not time travel. You're timeline hopping.
You're just going through the multiverse at this point.
I'm saying if you go back in time and you try to stop John Wilkes Booth from assassinating Abraham Lincoln, right? You're not going to be able to succeed. You're going to get hit by a horse or something and end up in a hospital. Because those events have to happen for you to be able to go to the point of going back in time. Because you're part of the future. You can't change it. It doesn't make sense. And I think that does tie into determinism. Whatever. It ties into that because I do think all of our actions are the result. Like, I was taking some notes as I was watching the videos. But I was really against agent causation, that idea that they mentioned in the video, that our minds are somehow an exception to the rule of everything being a consequence of a previous action. Because to me, it doesn't make any sense. Because what makes us so special?
Wait, so you agree with event causation, or you disagree?
That everything's caused by previous events? Yes.
You agree, right?
Yeah, I absolutely do, but I still think we need to hold people accountable because it all has to do with their own perception. I mean, acknowledging the fact that everything we do is predetermined, but I'm saying we're not like God who would know everything already. Right. So God would be able to be held accountable maybe, but since God may be, God may be exempt from being held accountable because God may be exempt from accountability because he already saw. I feel like if you saw the entire, to go back to the football analogy, if you saw the game already, nothing that can never change. No matter how many times you rewind it, that can never change. I think God would be in that position where he already watched the game once. So no matter what happens, that can never change. But we would be in the situation where if we were in Oedipus's situation, we only saw the point tally at the end, right?
Right.
So, but we could change. How we get to the point tally could vary, I think. I sound like a drunk.
No, well, I mean, I think some people would blame God for creating evil in the world.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's that. Like,
do.
why would you do that?
Well, I mean, in the video that we all watched, they mentioned how there's good that can come from evil, and that's why God created evil, because there's always good that comes from it.
But do you mind if I bring this to the God corner?
No, go ahead.
Why do something like being an atheist? Full discretion, everybody. I like talking about religion, but I am personally an atheist.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Why does being an atheist have to be punished? Because it's like, oh, you see, in this video, they're talking about like, oh, it was necessary to do the evil thing of making an atheist, so that way later that atheist could have kids with somebody and make somebody else that's not an atheist. I'm like, why is being an atheist so bad?
Well, wait, hold on. I think I can find another way of explaining it. So, for another example, so we know there's a lot of a lot of racial tension in this country, right? And in America, right? Yeah. So a lot of people who are racist, they didn't get there on their own, right? They got it from someone else. Right. But then along the line, some racist people gave birth to people who opened their minds up to the idea like, oh wait, just because they have a different skin color or they have a different sexual orientation or they walk different or they talk different from me, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with it. That just means that's who they are. So in order for them to be woke or to wake up or to open their minds, they had to experience what it was like to feel utter hate towards someone.
Perspective.
Yeah, and I think one thing that completely explains it. So I was watching 42, which is the Jackie Robinson movie, and there's one scene where this white boy is sitting down with his father at a baseball game that Jackie Robinson plays in, and then Jackie Robinson walks on the court on the field, and people are booing all the way. People are like, boo, get out of here, you don't belong here. They're saying the N-word and everything, and then the little white boy is just looking around he's looking around. He joins in because he thinks he has no other action like everyone else is doing it.
Right.
But then as time moves on, he sees his personal baseball hero who's on which is I think his name is Pee Wee. He literally walks up to Jackie Robinson and gives him puts his shoulder around him and and showing the little kid that if I can accept Jackie Robinson for being a black person, why can't you? And so that moment completely changed that little kid's point of view. Like, oh, wait, if my hero can accept this person because he's an African American, why can't I do it?
So it kind of is. He needed to see the good and the bad
in order to see what was bad. Because that's why there are so many stories
but
about
then why must we have the bad in the first place? Why not just have the good?
Because
stuff?
I think it's because
because otherwise the good couldn't exist.
Because that what world would we live in where everyone is doing the right thing, everyone's perfect, no one does anything wrong. It's kind of that's not really living. You can't really live unless you made a mistake. How would you know not to put your hand on a hot stove if you don't know the consequences?
I get the idea of otherwise we wouldn't be able to exercise free will, right? But what I feel like a lot of people have a criticism about a lot of religions is I think that God gives us free will, but then he punishes people for using it, right? Like he punishes people who follow the quote-unquote wrong belief system under a lot of forms of Christianity. You go to hell for that, right? And I don't know. I like the idea I understand the idea of the reason we have evil and good. The reason we have that contrast is so we can make our own independent decisions. But I feel like those decisions can't truly be independent if we're being punished for making the ones we want to make.
Well, technically, it's for some people, they don't really believe that there is a consequence. So if for other atheists, there's no they don't really believe there's a heaven or hell. So there's no real consequence for doing what you want. There's no if my action if there's other than the laws of our country, and I can drink a beer if I want to. I can smoke a cigarette.
Well, I don't think you go to hell for
when
drinking
I die,
a
there's
beer
not
and
gonna be any
smoking a cigarette.
consequence. There's no like for like say if I'm atheist, right? I don't believe in heaven or hell, so I can drink as many beers as I want to because
I think you can do that if you're
of my
Christian.
life, I'm going to die, and there will be no other consequence other than that I'm dead. How I get there is what I choose or predetermined of how I make of it.
In that sense, doesn't it mean that atheists would be making the most like when an atheist does a good action, can't you argue that an atheist is doing it for better reasons than somebody that believes you're going to hell if you don't do it?
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing. Like for some people who do believe, they teach us that like, you shouldn't be doing a good thing towards someone else because you're getting something out of it. You should be doing it out of the kindness of your own heart, regardless of the consequences of that of what might happen. So say if I have like $50 in my pocket, and I give it to a homeless person, I was like, oh yeah, I give it to a homeless person. Maybe I can get maybe God will give me something because I gave something. Like no, that's not how it works. It's because you did it. But say if someone else gave a homeless man $50 because they were just being nice, they felt sorry for the man, they wanted to help them. They generally wanted to help the man. No other reason other than to want to be helpful, out of a need for being helpful. That's how Christians or other people in religion, and that's how it's supposed to be.
They're taught to do it like that.
For others because you want to, not because you feel like you'll get
But you are rewarded ultimately, though, right? You're rewarded or punished for your behavior.
You don't know how you will be rewarded because you don't. The thing is, doing something nice for people. The thing is, doing something nice for someone you shouldn't be doing it because I might go somewhere nice when I die. No, it should be. It doesn't matter whether I go somewhere whether I go somewhere nice if I die or if I go somewhere bad. I want to do something because I feel like I feel like I want to do it. I should do it.
So Jacob, do you have anything to?
Yeah, I just wanted to conclude by asking you guys, well, there's the 10 Commandments, and we're basically being commanded to do these moral things. Do you think that the 10 Commandments just existing kind of implies free will because we're told to do these things and we may not?
I think they do, but I think, and this may be a controversial opinion, I think it's free will, but under an unfair premise because we are told we have free will, but we're punished for expressing the free will in a way that God doesn't like.
Well, technically, I'm not saying it's I don't think it's against free will because technically because one of the 10 Commandments is don't commit adultery, which means do not involve in intercourse without being married. But you know what? Most of the population does that whether they believe or not anyway. So because I remember I was watching this movie where this lady felt like she was punished because she did those, but then her friend reminded if that's how our Lord operated, most men would be dead by their senior year in high school. I'm because by popular media, most people experience their first intercourse, sexual encounter before they leave high school or while they're in college between the ages of let's say 16 to 23. Between those years you've already experienced your a sexual encounter for most people, for a lot of people, and it's not inherently wrong. There's plenty of commercials for trying to be safe and shit.
Yeah, but God in the 10 Commandments, we're going to be punished if we do that, even if there's nothing wrong with it, right?
Yeah, I definitely get what Kevin's saying. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but I want to make that clear. I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody. I'm just saying this is my 2 cents on when I read the book.
Yeah, and maybe we can do a part 2 to this because I think there's a lot more to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's it for this episode. So this has been the What's in the Briefcase podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, bye-bye. This has been, let me see, who am I again? I'm Jacob and Kevin. And that's
I'm
Joseph.
Jacob and Joseph.
and God.
And Joseph's God, yeah.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.